The second reason why GCP really is going to become um, a good product and can be a game changer is open cloud platform. So to understand this open cloud platform, let's take an example of Oracle. I'm not against Oracle, folks, but just wanted to take this example of Oracle database. You would have heard of this. The Oracle is popular for its database offering, ERP solutions, all those things. So if you see, do a quick survey and all, you'll come to know there's good amount of organizations who's using Oracle from a long time. There are two categories of organizations who are using Oracle. One, because they really like the product product offering from Oracle is really cool, they want to use it. This is the first category. The second category of organizations use Oracle because they don't know how to come out of that. They're locked in. They're locked into that and they don't know how to come out of it. There's a vendor lock-in. The vendor in this case is Oracle. So why? Because it's an enterprise product. It is proprietary, and if you were to come out of it, you have to do a very huge investment, migration, all those things. So because of which they are scared and they stay with Oracle. This is your vendor lock-in concept. Now when it comes to GCP, right, most of the products which Google uses runs on their infrastructure are basically open source based. For example, whenever we talk about big data, what is the first product which comes to your mind, folks? Whenever somebody says big data, there's one product which comes to everyone's mind. What is that product, folks? That ecosystem which you would have heard of, big data. It's like how we now have search is equivalent to Google. Google it is what now we say. Hadoop, yes. So Hadoop, the offerings, the various offerings from Hadoop, the vendors who provide it, Cloudera, Hortonworks, all those things. So uh, that's what it comes into picture. But the Hadoop actually was a contribution. The MapReduce paper was created by or shared with the open source community by Google. So they provided it to the open source community. So that's the most important thing which you should be aware of. And they also have a managed version of it in GCP called as Dataproc. So Dataproc is one of a offering which Google provides, which is nothing but managed Hadoop. What do you mean by managed Hadoop? You don't need to worry about installing a Hadoop cluster, managing it, patching it, all those things. Google is going to do it for you. You just click on a button, it's going to create it. So, but if you today you like GCP, that's the reason you're using Dataproc. Tomorrow, for some business reason, you want to move out of GCP, you want to go to AWS or Azure, you can move because there's no vendor lock-in. It is on the same open source ecosystem, the products which is there in Hadoop, the same thing is what Google is also using. So there's no vendor locking. What you are getting is only the infrastructure. That's one example of being open cloud. I usually call Google as GCP as open cloud. The first reason is this one. The second reason is big table. How many of you have used big table or heard of Apache Edgebase, folks? Have you heard of this name, Apache Edgebase? Anytime? So if you have not heard of it, no worries. Okay, you have heard of it. Okay, good. One response, 1, 2. Okay, so uh, this is also a white paper which Google released, and they also have a managed version of it called as Cloud Big Table. So now if you have not heard of Apache Edgebase, no worries. You'd have definitely used YouTube, Gmail, Google search engine, all those things. It is the same product which powers these cloud big table. So that is the importance of this product. So YouTube, Gmail, Google Maps, all those things behind the scene uses big table, and big table's open source version implementation is Apache Edgebase. Now when I say this open source version, meaning if you have used Apache Edgebase, it's going to be easy for you to use big table. Or think of this way, migration. Our first migration itself, we are talking about it. If it's an on-premise, there is an Hadoop cluster, you want to come to GCP, it's going to be so simple, right? So from Hadoop, you come to Dataproc, which is nothing but a managed version of it. Similarly, if it is Apache Edgebase, you do a migration so easily. It's going to work very effectively. And 6 months down the line, you don't like GCP, you in the sense the organization does not like GCP, they can move out of it. There's no vendor lock-in, open source. That is one important thing. So, and they also have good amount of contribution to machine learning. So when you talk about Google, you cannot stay away without mentioning about AI capability. So the in a Gmail, the spam folder, when you type something in your Gmail itself, hello, if you just type, and if the email is to Mahesh, it's going to show hello Mahesh. If you put comma, if you just type 1 or 2 letters, it's going to do an auto suggestion completion there. That is also machine learning. In your YouTube, if you're seeing a video and it's going to show the next video, the recommendation is also based on machine learning. So all those things are basically based on some framework called as TensorFlow, which is again an open source machine learning framework, which was contributed to the community by Google. So again, a contribution. Now, the good part with Google is when they feel this is a good product which the community can use it, they share it, they open source it with not even a single thought. They just go and share it, and they also provide a managed version of it. If you feel setting up this all those things is an overhead, to be frank, uh, I have only set up Hadoop cluster on my laptop only once in my lifetime. It was a pain actually, but when I started exploring GCP, n number of times I have explored Hadoop because it was so easy for me to set up Dataproc cluster. So that managed service gives us a better thought. Instead of installing something, focusing more on it, focus on the business requirement. Using this Hadoop cluster, what you can derive out of it. That is the key part of cloud basically. And when it comes to open source, without mentioning Kubernetes, I would say it's not going to be complete. So Google open sourced a container orchestration engine. If you don't understand what is a container orchestration engine, in very, very simple terms, you have a code, you have some uh, you have some components, and you want to run this component in every environment, in GCP, in AWS, in Azure, in your laptop, in my laptop, and in your friend's laptop. Then you have to package it in such a way that it's going to be easily deployed in any environment. That is nothing but as a container. That is called as container. And to run that container, you need some kind of an orchestrator, a captain. That's where Kubernetes comes into picture. So in 2014, they open source this, and Google uses containers to a great extent. They create lots of containerized stuffs internally for their internal use itself. So to orchestrate it, they were using Kubernetes, and they felt this could be also again used by the community helpful. So they just open sourced in 2014, and in 2015 they provided a managed version of it called as Kubernetes Engine. We'll talk about Kubernetes engine more in detail in our compute class, but this is again open source. Now you see n number of open source products are there, and you'll see it throughout as we proceed. Now what is the advantage? No vendor lock-in. Cloud platform. And now they're also focusing on something called as multi-cloud platform uh, and hybrid cloud platform options also they are providing Google with a product or a ecosystem called as Anthos. So this is another important thing which is becoming very, very popular. So which was this is an ecosystem or a platform, I would say, which was launched in 2019 Google Next event. Now it's almost like 1.5 years old product, where if you are in AWS and GCP, you want to do some integration, this is going to be helpful. uh, On-premise and GCP, this is going to be helpful. This is something very cool offering which can make GCP number one in next 1 or 2 years. This is a good one, and the base for this Anthos is all Kubernetes. This is the mother for Anthos. So once you excel Kubernetes concept, Anthos learning Anthos concepts is going to be easier. This is one main reason why Google can become number one in the next 1 to 2 years, folks. This is the second reason, the openness. Being openness, is going to be very easy because there's no vendor lock-in. So the risk is not there getting locked in. At the same point, I wanted to also highlight there are few products in GCP which gives you uh, some very native features. When you are using native, you will be definitely logged in. It is like if you are using an Apple phone, there are some very cool features which you don't get it in Android because it's native. But there are certain features which can work in Android and Apple also. For example, Telegram. It's going to work in both the offerings, right? So, but there are some apps which only work in Apple phone, or some features which only work in Android-based phones. So whenever you are interacting with a customer and the customer says, I want a cloud agnostic solution, which is cloud agnostic, so it should not be logged into a specific cloud, then you should think of these kind of products: Dataproc, Kubernetes, all those kinds of things. But when they say we want to use a cloud native solution, when you use nativity, it's going to be little performant, it can work little faster, all those things. So then you can propose such solutions. But the advantage of open source is today you're in GCP, tomorrow you want to move to other cloud, you can move easily because there's no vendor lock-in.